Hello and welcome to all. Here are the 10 most unusual and weirdest soccer fields on the planet. Let's get started. The Hernando Silas Olympic Stadium is a soccer field with a rather ordinary architecture, which is located in the Bolivian city of La Paz. The structure of the stadium, designed by the architect Emilio Villanueva, does not bear any artistic signature, nor even any trace of design. This sports complex is therefore far from being a model of originality, and it is certainly not the one that will win the award for the most beautiful soccer field. However, the Hernando Silas Stadium presents a particularity almost unique in its kind, since it was erected in an altitude of 3,637 meters, what to give you a hell of a vertigo. It is moreover the second highest stadium of the world, just after the one of Daniel Alcides Carrion in Cerro de Pasco in Peru, which culminates him at 4,380 meters above the sea level. At this height, and without making puns, it would be useful to specify that at such an altitude, oxygen is rarefied in a considerable way. It is therefore extremely difficult to play a 90 minutes match in such conditions because a footballer not used to this altitude would literally risk being asphyxiated by the lack of air. FIFA is perfectly aware of this, and it is precisely because of this that it prohibits official matches in stadiums that are more than 3,000 meters above sea level. However, the Hernando Silas Stadium will benefit from an exemption to this rule, thanks to the personal intervention of the Bolivian president, Evo Morales, and since then, it has hosted a multitude of rather controversial matches. It is indeed in this stadium, perched in the clouds, that the Argentinian selection had taken a real beating against the Bolivian team, in front of which it had painfully lost by 6-1. This crushing victory that the Albiceleste team had to undergo was probably caused by the high altitude, which completely confused the Argentine footballers. Imagine that you are a professional footballer and that you have to play a match in the FK Voždovac Stadium, located in Belgrade, Serbia. So far, nothing abnormal, you would say, since you think it will be enough for you to go to the changing rooms of a stadium to get ready, and then to make a triumphal entry on the field. But you are mistaken, because the FK Voždovac Stadium is not an ordinary stadium, far from it. The stadium is built on top of a huge 3-story shopping mall, which includes a very large supermarket, a multitude of fashion stores, and office space. The FK Voždovac Stadium stands proudly above this temple of consumerism, and of course, to be able to play there, you'll have to do a little window shopping. You can even do a shopping session if you want, or if you see some items on sale in one of the many stores you will pass. We now take you to Portugal with this video, more precisely in the north of the country, in the city of Braga, because this sublime city with a very Latin charm shelters in its heart one of the most spectacular soccer stadiums in the world, the Estadio AXA, or Estadio Municipal de Braga. This incredible soccer field is built entirely out of rock, with an extremely skillful architecture and design that respects the environment. With 2 large side stands, the field is bordered on both sides by the steep hillside, revealing a natural rocky setting of breathtaking beauty. This architectural marvel, which was born on the drawing board of Eduardo Souto de Mora, was built for Euro 2004 and officially opened on December 30th, 2003. With a capacity of more than 30,286 spectators, the Braga Stadium never ceases to charm visitors, who even forget the game they came to see, preferring instead to enjoy its sumptuous landscape. We will continue this exciting video on the strangest and most unusual soccer fields of the planet with a stadium that certainly does not lack panache. Here is the fabulous stadium Igralište Baterija, a soccer field for the least particular, located on the island of Trogir in Croatia. This stadium, with a capacity of only 1,000 seats, is really far from being the biggest Croatian stadium, but thanks to its unique location in the world, it is certainly the most spectacular and the most splendid. Built in the middle of 2 tourist sites, the stadium Igralište Baterija is indeed flanked on both sides by 2 magnificent historical monuments dating from the 15th century, the Tower of St. Mark and the Camerlengo Castle. The players, as well as the public, can kill 2 birds with 1 stone, since they can boast of being able to attend a soccer match while making a real cultural outing, the true class what. For the rest of this sequence, we invite you to take out your fins and snorkel, because you might have to go for a swim right after the game. Admire this incredible soccer stadium that literally floats on the water and tell us if it doesn't make you want to jump in the water to splash around like carefree little ducks. The float at Marina Bay is indeed a soccer stadium almost unique in its kind, since it was built inside the Singapore Marina. Made up of a gigantic floating platform made of hardened steel, this amazing structure can support a weight of up to 1,070 tons, equivalent to the weight of 9,000 people, 200 tons of stage props, as well as 3 30-ton military vehicles. You have no risk of seeing this stadium boat capsize in the water like the Titanic, since it was built with hyper-resistant materials and according to a very specific architecture, thus guaranteeing an unfailing safety. You can leave your diving accessories in the closet and take out your caps and headgear instead, because the Singapore sun tends to hit very hard, especially since there will be no roof over your little blonde heads. Now let's go to a video sequence that will take us straight to South Africa, country of antelopes, lions, and especially Bafana Bafana. You may not know it yet, but in South Africa, soccer is a sacred institution, and even the late Nelson Mandela was a fervent supporter, who did not hesitate to attend soccer matches when his overloaded schedule as a politician allowed him to. The country, which organized the 2010 World Cup with great pomp and circumstance, has a multitude of soccer fields, each more beautiful and splendid than the other, and of course, very original. But in terms of originality, no stadium could surpass the Mabatho Stadium, and its strange stands would seem to have been designed by the tortured mind of a tormented architect. Look at the positioning of these stands and the angle at which they point, and you will almost immediately understand that the fans who will be sitting here will literally have to twist themselves in order to be able to follow the game. The poor spectators who will be installed there risk indeed to suffer from torticollis and other lumbar pains by returning at home the evening after the match. Located in the North Atlantic Ocean, not far from the Norwegian Sea, the Faroe Islands are a small archipelago of 29 small islands, 18 of which are main islands, and whose population hardly exceeds 52,000 inhabitants. It is certainly not in the Faroe Islands that you can meet an Old Trafford or Maracana, but you will see that the Faroese are not left behind. For if they don't have a giant stadium, these isolated islanders have probably the best located soccer field in the world, with a breathtakingly beautiful panorama. The wilderness that surrounds the field is indeed postcard perfect, and the ocean that surrounds you on all sides will overwhelm you with its magnificent spray. So unless you're hosting a World Cup final or an equally crucial match, you can be sure that the crowd will spend much more time admiring the breathtaking scenery around them than supporting their own team. Japan is a country that suffers from the lack of building space due to its geographical location and the intense seismic activity that reigns there. The Japanese ingenious people had to learn very early to deal with the elements, as devastating as they can be, and to build with more and more infallible techniques and on more and more improbable surfaces, such as this famous airport that they have built on an artificial island created from scratch by them. But the lack of space also concerns soccer fields, because in Tokyo, the inhabitants are fervent soccer fans, and for nothing in the world, they will not be able to sacrifice the joys of a good soccer game. So, as usual, these construction experts quickly found the solution by building a field on the roof of a building. So here is the Adidas Futsal Park Shibuya, a splendid little futsal field built on the roof of a skyscraper in Tokyo. The players can come and get some fresh air while enjoying the superb view of Tokyo at night that this almost unique field offers them. They can also boast to their friends that they were able to score the highest goals in futsal, since they played a match while perched on the roof of a skyscraper. We couldn't do this top of the most unusual soccer fields without mentioning the impressive Henningsverstadion, a real little emerald set in the Norwegian rock. This stadium, which has no stands, is surrounded on all sides by the magical landscape of the Norwegian fjords. However, this beautiful spectacle cannot be enjoyed by crowds of fans, simply because they do not exist. Indeed, no professional match could be played on this beautiful green lawn, because the ball would end up in the ocean almost every time. And with no seating, it would be very difficult to watch any game unless you were perched on a steep rock or watching from a boat parked offshore. However, even if this stadium is not ready to host the next World Cup final, it is still the most beautiful soccer field on the planet, and the few people who have had the pleasure to visit it will certainly not tell you otherwise. They will never forget this little excursion in the middle of the Nordic country, as well as the emerald curiosity nestled in the majestic Norwegian fjords. And as always on your favorite YouTube channel, we have saved the best for last, with a soccer stadium that seems to have emerged from a fairy tale. Behold this soccer field planted in the middle of the forest, surrounded by gigantic and majestic trees. Located in Russia, just a short distance from the city of Moscow, this picturesque field is part of Meshchersky Park, a very popular place for nature lovers. And what better way to enjoy the beauty of Russia's forest landscape than to build a soccer field in the middle of a centuries-old forest? The footballers who will play a match on this superb lawn will be shaded by the splendid trees which border the ground, with cherry on the cake, a sublime breeze with the perfume of wood. The change of scenery is total on this incredible field, nestled in the depths of this beautiful grove, and you can even bring back souvenirs with you. For lack of goodie stores around the stadium, you can nevertheless make a small collection of mushrooms and pine cones, just to cook you a good little forest meal for dinner. But be careful not to cross the path of an evil bear, because it could be a supporter of the opposing team. Now, tell us in the comments what you think of these amazing soccer stadiums, and above all, which one of them impressed you the most, and where you would like to play a good game. Don't forget to subscribe and click here to watch another of our videos.